Hey there, happy Wednesday, January 6th. Wednesday, of course, comic book day this week. Probably going to be 3 videos, but each kind of tiny. That's just how it breaks down this week. And we're starting with Marvel books and with a new series for me, Division. Starting with issue 3, I picked up the previous 2 issues and I read those and just kind of fell in love with the series. It's written by Tom King. So that's really no surprise because I like his other work, specifically on Grayson. And so yeah, the vision. If you haven't been picking it up, the premise, which is recapped on the title page, is that the Vision, the superhero, the Avenger, decided to settle down and build a family for himself, a bunch of other synthoids, and they're settled down in Washington D.C. In the first issue, they were attacked by the Grim Reaper, who's a supervillain, and the Grim Reaper chopped their daughter Viv in half, and then the wife Virginia killed the Grim Reaper and buried his body in the backyard. The second issue dealt with the Vision, who is away for that whole thing, coming back, Virginia lying to him about what happened, and then their son, Vin, going to school and getting suspended for acting out because of feeling the loss of his sister. So this issue, just playing some catch up. This issue begins with Virginia kind of beating up, I guess, teaching a lesson pretty violently to some neighborhood kids who decide to graffiti their front door. It's very much, they're drawing a strong resemblance to the backlash that some Muslim immigrants have had in their communities, or some black families have had in the civil rights era when they were moving into predominantly white neighborhoods. And so now you have robot racist graffiti, and Virginia taking care of that, but doing so a bit violently. And through this book, especially at the end, and then considering her lying to the Vision in the previous issues, we see that Virginia has a dark side. She's a little manipulative. She likes kind of this keeping up appearances, so to speak, and not letting her husband know all the trouble that she's been up to, which kind of really plays into the whole family drama, kind of soap opera drama that this book had through the previous 2 issues too, and kind of engenders, and how Tom King in the book is really playing around with these kind of soap opera tropes of the family member dying or in the hospital, and the lying wife and the manipulative wife and stuff like that. So they're really playing with that, but of course adding superhero dynamics. Meanwhile, we have the Vision at Avengers Tower with Tony Stark trying to resuscitate his daughter, and the whole thing plays out very much like a scene from ER, with them grabbing the defibrillator and going clear and shocking the person. It's very much like that, but with the Vision and robot superhero type stuff. And we also have a bit of a side story here involving a prophecy, involving a magic flower that can help you tell the future. And I believe it's Scarlet Witch's mom who's eating this flower and having this prophecy that somehow involves the Vision and his family. And then we kind of get to the end, which I don't want to spoil too much because it's a lot of character work. Like I said, at the end we really see how manipulative Virginia can be, and how Vision really doesn't suspect a thing, how he's completely in the dark, and so we have some dramatic irony between the characters there that's really nice. But yeah, I'm really enjoying this story. Like I said, I'm really enjoying how the book is playing with these kind of very soap opera tropes involving domestic life and domestic suburban life especially, and playing it's very soap opera with the murders and the sick child and all that, and the wife lying to the husband about things and all that sort of stuff. There's blackmail involved, so it's very soap opera, but it doesn't feel melodramatic, and I like the way that they're putting it in a superhero world with superheroes and villains and all that. So, yeah, and Tom King, of course, has a lot of experience doing the genre stuff, not only with like soap opera and The Vision, but with spy drama in Grayson and kind of like terrorism narrative in Omega Men, which he also writes. So yeah, Tom King is like, I think he started with Grayson, but he is writing a lot of great stuff really quickly, and I can't wait, like whatever book he writes next, I can't wait to pick up. Next up, we have Doctor Strange, issue number 4, continuing our storyline where we have some organization draining magic from the world. But we begin in a flashback with Doctor Strange training with the Ancient One, and where Doctor Strange learns the toll that magic takes. So the Ancient One teaches him basically, for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. So whenever you use magic, you'll get sick, and it'll be a bad time. And then we kind of do a match cut to Stephen vomiting in the bar with no doors, which is the magic bar that he goes to, and he's speaking with all these other magicians and magic users in the Marvel Universe, trying to figure out, well, what's going on? Where's all the magic going? Why are like all the other magicians in other dimensions quiet? Like, why are we alone in this? What's happening? And he doesn't get any answers when he's called back to the Sanctum Sanctorum, where Wong and what's her name? I forget her name. Not Zelda. Zelma. Yeah, where Wong and Zelma notify the Doctor that the spell books are dying, that they're being drained of their text and they're falling off the shelves. And so now Stephen goes to investigate that, and he goes to, it's the Grimoire, I think, of Watum. So he has to go to the Temple of Watum to figure out what is interrupting the magic at its source. Stephen eats and prepares for battle, and he eats some really gross-looking food because that's all he can tolerate right now because of all the changes the magic has done to his gastrointestinal system. And then he goes to Watum to investigate, where the dramatic irony is finally lifted, and Stephen discovers that it's not magic that's destroying magic, it is machines, and he gets ambushed by the machines that we've seen in the previous issues that have been draining the magic, and he gets finally gets a bit more clues as to what's going on and why the magic all around him is being erased from existence. And that's kind of a summary of the whole book, so I guess now you don't have to read it, but I really recommend you do, because it is really well told. How this book is characterized, Stephen, as someone who's both like the master and the student, someone who is the Sorcerer Supreme, the most powerful sorcerer on Earth, but also has no idea what's going on, still has to learn, he's not psychic, he doesn't know everything, he's not omniscient, and just seeing him kind of work his way through this mystery and trying to find out what's really going on, it really is rewarding and funny in ways and sad in other ways. It goes through kind of the whole emotional spectrum. And the book is, of course, gorgeous, as it has been. And this issue is not as extravagant as some previous issues, but I really like this scene in the bar here that we not open with, but that's in the beginning. And this page is gorgeous when we have Stephen at the edge of the dimension as he is casting a call, looking for other Sorcerer Supremes, and finds out he's alone. What are some other good pages? I just love the inventiveness of the gross food that Stephen has to eat in this picture, or in this panel rather, and he's eating it with chopsticks instead of like a spoon. I don't know why like him eating it with chopsticks sticks out so much, but it does. And then we have what they've been doing with the colorization and how magic is colored and the technology isn't, as we get into the kind of final fight in this issue where Stephen fights the machine. Yeah, so I mean, not a lot of like spoilers. Like the end it's not a big like, oh my god, how's he gonna get to this one to be continued sort of thing. This is, we're not a lull in the plot, but a lull in the kind of excitement of it. We're getting a lot of effects rather than causes, I guess. And So yeah, that is Doctor Strange. Still really enjoying this book. Still heavily recommended. Next up is Invincible Iron Man, issue number 5, the conclusion to this first story arc of this relaunch. And it's basically a big fight scene between Madame Mask, Iron Man, and Doctor Doom as we find out what is behind, like why Madame Mask is doing this. We find out her motivations, and it turns out that she is actually being possessed by a demon who's using her as a host. Where's the picture where we see that face? There we go. And so, midway through the fight, Doctor Doom asks Tony to hold her still so he can perform an exorcism of the demon possessing Madame Mask, and that is the chunk of this book. It's all climax. It's all finale here. Not a lot of developments going on. It's all resolution in this one. And it's pretty good. I mean, the action is it's bright and colorful. So we have like the exorcism here, and it's lots of bright pink colors. Again, there's not a lot of development going on. There's some pretty funny like just banter between Doom and Tony, and later between Tony and Mary Jane. After Mary Jane is sad because her club was destroyed once again. And of course, Friday, Tony's current AI is pretty good for a laugh every now and again. There's a moment where she becomes possessed a little bit by the demon and starts just saying random nonsensical stuff that's kind of funny if you like non sequitur humor, which I do occasionally. It's not like cutaway gag sort of thing. It's not Family Guy. It's just, inappropriate things to say at those moments. And yeah, the art, as it has been, is fantastic. It's bright and colorful, and I really like it. Just everything in this book it's okay. It's not an exciting final battle. There's not a lot of movement going on. I mean, it's people. Like, if you were filming this, it would just be people sticking their hands out and then bursts of light. Like, that's all it is. It's shiny lights. It's not like the sword fight that we got in issue 4, I want to say, with the ninjas. Was that issue 5? No, this is issue 5. Yeah, so issue 4, last issue. And there's some tension here as the fight, as the possession thing goes between the demon and Doctor Doom mostly. It's Doctor Doom doing a lot of the work in this issue. But, yeah, not the best ending to this arc. Like, the payoff was a bit, it's just a demon. Like, it feels weird how we have those moments with Tony trying to get closer to Madame Mask, and then they just kind of fizzle out because it's not her all along. And the page layouts still get a little confusing at times, where I'm going, left page top to bottom when it's supposed to be left to right and then left to right again, and it's not immediately clear that you're supposed to do that. But yeah, it's standard. It suffices. It works. It's fun. It moves you through the story well enough. It's not bad, but it's not as good as some of the previous issues have been. And then at the very end, I mean, we get a meeting between Tony and Mary Jane, and we go kind of full Bendis in terms of dialogue with all the word balloons and everything blocking a lot of the art. But otherwise, I mean, it's a Brian Michael Bendis Iron Man book. It's that's what it is. Like, it's as you expect Brian Michael Bendis to write an Iron Man book. You can't really complain. It's not bad by any means. But and this final issue doesn't really have anything that really jumps out. It doesn't really feel like a climax all that much. So there we go. I'll stick around for at least another arc, and I'm glad to finally have MJ be a big character in this book now. And the final book for this part of the reviews this week is Howard the Duck number 3. And we begin in medias res again with this issue, or not again, but in medias res in the middle of this arc already, with Howard the Duck as the Silver Surfer, actually as it is on the cover. We don't find out how he became the Silver Surfer in this issue, but we know that this is going to be a thing. But we do get an explanation as to what Linda and Shockett from the previous issue want with Howard. We find out, and as does Howard, that Howard has become the conduit for the nexus of all realities, the thing that he was looking for to get him back home. Howard is now that. He is now a portal between all sorts of dimensions and gateways and stuff. And so Linda and Shockett want to use Howard in order to rescue all of the prisoners being held captive by the Collector, which Howard agrees to do because he was imprisoned and he wants to rescue them too, because what kind of duck would he be otherwise, he says. But as they go into space to go back to the Collector, they get ambushed by a whole bunch of spaceships who are tracking Howard because he's now this nexus of all realities. He has a unique power frequency or whatever. So a lot of different people are coming after Howard, wanting to abuse his power. The one that finally gets him is the Stranger, who teleports him onto his ship after destroying all the other ships and tells Howard that he wants to use Howard to become a god of his own reality. Because that's what supervillains like to do. And so we end this book, and again, I don't want to get into too many spoilers, we end this book with Steven in the hands of the Stranger and the rest of the crew somewhere else after their ship gets exploded by the Stranger. And we're like, again, this isn't like a plot-heavy book. It's not exactly character-heavy. This is a comedic book, and it does bring the jokes. From Fun with the Editor's Notes, when... Here's the panel. When they reference things that happened in the previous issue number 2. First, last issue number 2, where we find out Linda and Shockett's backstories. And then the first issue number 2 from earlier this year, where we find out that happens with Howard being kidnapped by the Collector. And so there's some fun with the editor's notes. There's a joke with Tara constantly confusing Doctor Strange's name for Dr. Weird. And also we have interactions between, involving duck people and raccoon people and transformy people all going about, and then Howard being snarky once he's kidnapped and all that. It's still a great book, still funny, enjoyable, and telling like an actual superhero story. It's not just, funny characters and funny situations. Like, it's an actual... You could put the Fantastic Four in this situation or something, and it would be a believable superhero story if, like, the Thing became the Nexus, and they're dealing with it in much the same way. They're playing the superhero stuff completely straight and just finding a lot of comedy around it, which is fun. It's great. I like it. I'm enjoying it. It's a funny book. So that is Howard the Duck, issue number 3. And that is it for this part of this week's reviews. If you're interested in Spider-Man books, I picked up 3 Spider-Man books this week, and those will all be in part 2. And then the remaining 3 books I picked up this week will be in part 3, including the return of Bitch Planet, finally. So if you're interested in that, please, stay tuned, I guess, and watch those videos. But if you're done for now, thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please like it. If you want more every week, please subscribe. Any comments, questions, book recommendations, anything whatsoever you have opinions on, please leave them in the comments, and I will try and get to them. Once again, thank you for watching, and I hope that you will join me for some more comic book reviews.